Okay, I think I am live here. Let's double check. Just a moment, everybody. Dope, looking good there. One more place, just double checking. Go chill, buddy. Go relax. Tony, what's up, man? Good to see you. Owen, welcome. I'm not sure if we've hung out before. Brittany Collins, welcome back, I think. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate everybody hanging out on this short, quick, surprise live stream. Let's get ourselves some weed going. And looks like we'll do this first bag for Tony, Owen, and Brittany. Let's get this process started. This is, what are we enjoying here? Oh, yes. Space Trails is the name of this strain. Joe, welcome, Joe. Good to see you. Thanks for hanging out. And Joe, you're here just in time to get this bag dedicated in your honor as well. And Brittany, yes, been playing a lot of racquetball recently, and you have no choice but to lose some weight. Okay. All right, well, we've got our first bag here. Welcome. It looks like we've got a new Fred Carlos documents. Welcome, Carloses. I'm not sure if I'm getting that name exactly right, but I'm glad you could join us. It sounds like a crazy strain. I guess it's a very affordable strain. It's like 30% THC and about $100 for an ounce, which is a pretty good price for the quality of the weed that is there. Even though I've never heard of Space Trails before, actually all of this brand's weed has different space themed, and I'm not sure I've heard of any of the strain names before. But good on them if they are pioneering their own. All right, well, we did one bag super quick here. You know what? I'll go ahead and get ourselves a second one started for good old Carlos. And in the meantime, yes, I've been playing a lot of racquetball. I've been playing for a couple months now. There's an outdoor court very close to where I live. I don't play with people. I just play by myself against the racquetball wall. And mostly play around a lot of very old men who play handball. I'm the only one with the racquetball. Also, a lot of old people close by on the basketball courts, not playing basketball, but playing pickleball. The fastest growing sport in America, supposedly. But racquetball is a lot of fun. It's a super intense racket sport, aka a tennis, badminton, table tennis, squash, and racquetball is like, so I think the most is like badminton or tennis, except there's only one side. There's not a net that the ball must cross. You hit a wall. So it's, think of tennis, but instead of hitting it across a net, you are smacking it into a wall for the other person to hit. And racquetball courts are also bounded not just by a back wall, but by side walls as well. So, and the balls are smaller and faster than tennis balls, so they move around like bullets, and it's a lot of fun. I love it a lot. Brittany says that she loves racquetball as well. Well, that's super cool. I actually haven't met anybody else who plays. I'm just lucky to live next to a place with an outdoor court, and finally decided to give it a shot and fell in love with it, man. I play pretty obsessively. It's really the only first athletic thing I've ever done in my entire life. You know, outside of the forced athletics of gym class. Um, never a fan of running around getting sweaty. Well, that okay. Backing up for just a moment. Um, I've certainly never done any recreational or team based athletic stuff, and then never did anything athletic for just recreational purpose or the fitness purpose. That all did start to change back in 2019 when the Oculus Quest released Beat Saber, and you could play Beat Saber anywhere. And I played Beat Saber a lot, and got really into it. And that sort of led its way to racquetball in a way. All right, my dogs are being obnoxious. I'm gonna kick them out here. I'll probably end up letting them back in like we do, but let's get them kicked out for now. All right, come on, guys, gotta go. I'll end up letting them back in when they whine loud enough out there. It's good. It's good dog racing. Um. Oh, welcome back. Oh my God. And Davey, I forgot how to pronounce it again, and I am so sorry. It's been more than 2 days, and it slipped my mind. Welcome back. So glad to have you again. Our friend lets us know that handball is cool as well, and it's a good way to keep fit. Yes, we see there are just usually a cadre of elderly gentlemen tearing it up out there playing handball on these courts. Uh, Staying in excellent shape, and they love it, man. I'm not sure why. I don't know why anybody chooses the one that they chose or choose. Like, why choose handball over racquetball over squash? I just sort of picked racquetball because that was the I think the name of the court, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna give it a shot. But it's super fun. It makes me want to sign up for an super expensive gym membership so I can do indoor racquetball where you have a roof and you're bounded on all sides, which sounds fantastic. I've lost more than a few balls to terrible shots in my day. Carl says, question. How many of those bags do you get out of a gram of extract? Ooh, well, Carl, that I cannot answer for you, as I've never actually done extract on the volcano. You can, I think, with certain equipment, you can convert it to doing concentrates, but I have never done it. In terms of plant, how many bags? Probably, I would say, okay, Carl, this is the filling chamber or the oven here. I would say one of these is probably anywhere between half and 3/4 of a gram, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less than that range, depending on the, how much moisture there is in it, the volume, all the actual density of the weed. And then the single filling chamber can be used anywhere. I use it anywhere between 3 to 5 times, just looking at the vapor and the flour that's left in here to determine when. So you can extrapolate somewhere around 7 to 10 bags, probably. And there comes my dog. Relax. Okay. I hope that answered your question, Carl. For flour, because I don't have extract, I'm gonna guess 7 to 12 bags per gram ish. But I think my math is messed up. I appreciate the question, though. Well, welcome, Sean. Sean says, mini nail dabs. Face is quite red. Well, your wish is my command. Sean, we'll do our first dab of the day for you and our previous 2 commenters. And I'm still sorry, Dathy, I'm sorry I forgot how to pronounce your name. Please remind me if you wish, and I'd be happy to correct myself. But anyways, let's go do this dab. Excuse me. Oh, wait. Not true. Have to heat it up first. Forgot to turn it on before. So we'll go ahead and do this 3rd bag. Welcome back, Carpe Buy It. Carpe says, what's up, Weeds? Hope you're having a good day. We're right back at you, man. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Wednesday afternoon. Let's get our 3rd bag going here. And this bag is going to be for Carl, Carpe, and Dathy. My bad. Carl asks, do you save and reuse the vaped weed, or is it not worthy of making edibles with? Another excellent question, Carl. One that I'm very happy to answer. I do save it religiously, doggedly even. I currently have a major surplus of it because my butter maker died on me 6 months ago or so. So I have not actually used any of the stuff that I've just been warehousing. I have quite a bit of AVB, but it is excellent for that purpose, Carl. Actually, Carl, my review of the Ardent Nova goes into it a little bit. I save all of the weed I get from the volcano, and then I'll actually decarb it in my decarboxylator just in case as well. I've run a few tests and it seems to make a little bit of a difference, but there is a more than enough potency remains, THC remains in that flower. I guess I was pointing to where I keep it. It's in a little bucket right there, little Rubbermaid cup. There's more than enough THC to keep it around to make edibles out of. I used to make butter out of it, and even being AVB, it was it would do the business, which is probably the best part about the volcano, other than its reliability and lack of mess, is the huge quantity of AVB that you get, which you can turn into edibles, which of course I love. So great question. Sean asks, what are you going to be dabbing on? Sean's very ready to get to that dab. And the answer is some Rainbow Tongue is the answer. Never had it before. On special at my dispensary. And fun sounding name. And Sean, we'll get to it very soon. I guess I knew we can get through this third bag. And Carl, that is true for any plant-based vaporizer. Save your ABB, your already vaped bud, and use it for other things. Even for somebody with a pretty high tolerance like myself, it is worth the effort. I could, of course, use it straight and make firecrackers, and I actually have a lot of firecrackers already made, but man, I just don't have the stomach to do them anymore. Firecrackers, if you don't know, is the very common use for AVB, where you just take the product, the plant itself, spread it on some Nutella or peanut butter that is itself spread on graham crackers. You wrap that in aluminum foil, stick it in the oven for a little while, and then eat it. And it is as bad as you would imagine. So I just need to buckle down and buy a new butter maker, infuser, whatever. I had an Infusium 420, which is like the pretty popular magical butter maker knockoff for 2 or 3 years, where it ran great, and then it died in the middle of making a huge batch, which really, really sucked. Oh my god! It was a bit of a shit show. As I said, it was maybe 20 minutes into the process of infusing this butter, and so it dies, and then you're just left with a hot mess of poorly blended, not at all infused weed butter that you've got to get rid of, but what are you going to do? Or I just ended up having to pour it into like a Ralph's bag, basically a grocery bag, pounds or ounces and ounces and ounces of melted, poorly infused with weed all throughout it. It smelled awful. We just had to let it sit out in the trash for a while. It was disgusting. Yeah, that was my Infusium 420. So I need to get some kind of infuser at some point and use all of this ABB I have. Anyways, looks like we got a lot of new folks here. Black and Cloak, welcome. Zuriel, welcome. Glad to see you both. I'm not sure if we've hung out before. Then we've got the controversial. You gotta appreciate their strong stance. Bitcoin is a scam, not a philosophy I disagree with necessarily either. I guess I'm not sure if Bitcoin is a scam, less so than people who tell you to invest in Bitcoin is a scam. I guess the idea in and of itself is not a scam per se. But that's that's neither for now or in the future or whenever. We could have a crypto discussion at some point. So let's finish this bag, and then I'm going to get to this dab that I've been promising Sean for a while, and then I'll get caught up on chat. Let's get to that. Well, I'm getting there. Blade and Cloak, not Black and Cloak. Blade and Cloak. I'm sorry. Blade and Cloak says, anyone ever tried weed iced tea? I had some today and it was great. I have not. I'm curious where you picked it up. Was it a packaged good like from a dispensary, something you made or a friend gave to you? And then what kind of just like a very generic sweet tea flavor or anything fancy as well? Could be good. It sounds like one of those things that could go either way with edibles. Appreciate the comment, by the way, Zuriel. Sean says that grabbing the deals at dispensaries is a veteran move. Don't we all know it, Sean? Pros never pay full price. No problem, Tony. Okay. Bitcoin is a scam, says another controversial opinion that drugs are wrong. Well, hard to say that categorically, unless you really narrow the term drug to mean narcotic, but hard to say all drugs are bad, unless we really want to spend some time on some English language winnowing, which I'm down for. Words have too many meanings. Let's make the thesaurus skinnier. That would be my presidential platform. Let's pare down some word meanings. Literally shouldn't mean both figuratively and literally. Nonplussed shouldn't mean literally plussed and nonplussed. Ironic shouldn't mean literally ironic and not ironic. It's just confusing as fuck. Speaking of words, way too many meanings. All right. Let's actually do this. Rainbow tongue. Sean, you asked for it. We'll deliver. Now, it's not anything massive because I don't want to cough to death forever, but it's, you know, it's modest. It's modest, like me. Bad sign. Too bad. Gonna blow my nose. Excuse me. Okay. All right. Now let's speed round some chat. I'm way behind on here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Sean, glad to finally gotten through that dab. Blade and Cloak. In response to Bitcoin is a scams, drugs are wrong. Screed. Blade says, eat your drugs, stay in vegetables, and don't do school. How positively Timothy Leary of you. Wait, is that his name, Tim Leary? The tune in, drop out, or tune out, drop out, Harvard professor dude. I think that's his name. Go. Go. Go, buddy. Okay. Carpe says, Wheats, would you ever consider while you travel to review some other products from other states? Would be very interesting. They got Dr. Zodiac's Moon Rocks here in Arizona. Carpe, great question. And I've actually done it in the past, not often, and it's been a long time, even pre-COVID, but early in Wheats' history, so maybe year 2, something like that, 2018 maybe. I happened to be in Denver for literally a day and picked up some edibles and did some reviews of edibles in Denver. Had a wonderful time in Denver, getting high. Well, the very first time I ever bought recreational weed was in Denver years earlier at a friend's wedding, and that was very delightful. And then driving through Denver, stopping at a dispensary, and watching the Power Rangers movie. That was also great. Mile High City. So yes is the answer to that question. I just need to get back to doing more travel and stop being mindful to stop at dispensaries along the way. I think it's actually a great idea, and I appreciate the suggestion. Carl says the crock pot is cheap and reliable in terms of infusers. Yes, it is. Many people use slow cookers of all kinds to make their concentrates. And they are mostly dummy proof and mostly foolproof, and cannot go wrong. The only problem with that is that little tiny word mostly, and I've never met a mostly that I can't be on the wrong side of. So it needs to be fully, for me, idiot proof. Tony says drugs are helpful. Yes, thank you, Tony. That's kind of what I was alluding to in my, you can only say all drugs are bad if you really winnow down the meaning of the word drug. Oh, that's how we also talked about words have too many meanings. That's a hill nobody will die on. Bitcoin scammer. Bitcoin, wow. A very different name I just gave you. I'm sorry. I just called you Bitcoin scammer, not Bitcoin is a scam. Bitcoin is a scam says, please don't tell me you're a huffer. No. I guess huffing is the act of inhaling, but using your nose, and usually like reducing the amount of or constricting other airflow, so you're like huffing like from a bag or something. I don't think I've ever huffed anything, or at least intentionally. I wonder what drugs can be done safely huffing. And huffing is different than snorting, where snorting is you're actually taking up particulate, you're actually ingesting something through your sinuses, whereas huffing is just about fumes, and doing noxious odors, I guess. One of the probably the best living director, Alexander Payne, the guy who directed best movie ever written, or second best written movie ever, but the best movie ever made, and that's Election from 1999, the Matthew Broderick, Reese Witherspoon movie. Election is the best movie ever made. Anyways, his first movie, that guy, Alexander Payne, it's an incredible movie about abortion called Citizen Ruth, about a woman who cannot stop huffing paint, just obsessed with huffing paint. That woman being Laura Dern, the Jurassic Park lady, and she gets used as a totem for both pro-choice and anti-choice folks alike. And she's nothing but a paint huffing weirdo. Has such an exquisite ending, like every Alexander Payne movie. If you've never seen Citizen Ruth, my God, you should check it out. Not really a well-known movie at all, but totally, totally delightful, and very appropriate for this moment. And even though it definitely has a side, it definitely makes both people sides look out to be like jackasses, even though it isn't flinching about which one's wrong. Anyways, Citizen Ruth, check that movie out. If you're new, if you really want to watch a great laugh out loud funny movie about abortion, one of the best. Fuck you, Juno. This is the abortion movie for me. Not that Juno's bad, and I guess that's abortion. That's not adoption. Ooh, how do we talk about abortion? Bad topic to spend any time on. Except when talking about Citizen Ruth. Sorry, guys, that was a long rant on chat, and I need to get caught up. Or, Blade and Cloak, I'm super high, says that they use the magical butter machine too. Very cool, Blade. Do you recommend it? How long have you had it? I just cheaped out and bought the knockoff one. The review seemed really good, and it did last a decent amount of time. And it was like maybe half the price of the Buttermaker, but the Buttermaker now is the one that kind of got my eye on, but now there's also this other fancy one that looks like an espresso machine that makes it like come out of a nozzle. It sounds real cool, and who doesn't like fancier things, I guess. But don't we normally rail against consumerism here? Nobody's ever accused me of not being a hypocrite, though. Okay. Jeff. Welcome, Jeff. Jeff says, what eating stuff would you recommend? Well, Jeff, that's a really broad question. I appreciate it. Do you mean what kind of weed edibles? Or what kind of things, munchies, things to eat while high? Or what foods are best to make edibles with? Or just generally, you just mean the huge umbrella, which would be great. What eating stuff do I recommend? Because then, there's a lot of eating stuff to recommend, I guess. Although I don't really have much of a diet. So maybe I'd be a terrible person to answer that. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. GH. Welcome, GH. Yes, what are you puffing on? Or he or she or they? Great question. This is Alien Trails from Astronauts. And let's get our fourth bag going. We'll add this one for Jeff and GH. Anybody else I missed in chat? Thomas. Welcome, Thomas. Welcome back, I think. Thomas says, it's not that Bitcoin is a scam. Shh. Go. Relax. No. All right. Sorry, guys. My dogs are really annoying with me. Go, buddy. Go. Thomas comments. It's not that Bitcoin is a scam. It's just not nearly as stable as a government-backed currency like the dollar or the euro. People seem to think Bitcoin is a legitimate alternative. Yes, which you can understand why people would have that belief. It is literally advertised as being a currency, and its entire purpose was to be used as a fungible currency. However, ironically, the thing it became terrible at and can never be used for and is dreadful at is being used as a means of exchange and actual currency. It's too expensive to actually use. So what did it end up becoming? A speculative asset. Well, I mean, uh, they say like if you're a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. If you're the American economy, every new tool looks like a speculative asset. Like, I'm not sure that that's what was its ultimate destination, but nobody should be surprised that's where it ended up. Uh, that was a bad analogy on my part, but great point. Great, excellent point, Thomas. And I hope I'm not upsetting anybody who disagrees, has different views on. GH says, I haven't seen anyone use a Volcano in a while. What a Cadillac. What a great description. A Cadillac. Yeah, it's both evocative of Cadillacs in size. It's hulking, it's big, it's expensive, and it's ancient. It's for ancient people. It's, you don't see the Gen Z kids out here with the Volcanos. I love mine. I've talked about it too much. I've had it for like 6 years, GH, and it works as great as the day I bought it, which I say every time. Broken record, but I do absolutely love it. Blade says, it was a sweet peach flavored iced tea, 100 milligrams, and he got it from a delivery service. And it's lasted them 3 days so far, as it's super strong stuff. That sounds pretty good, man. I will, if I see some THC iced teas, which sounds like I have maybe run across them before, I will have to give them a shot. I do like reviewing the drinks too. Jeff asks, what's a good edible brand? There we go. Good edible brand. Super cheap is Fruit. If you've got fruit available around you, sorry, not being facetious, the brand is called Fruit, spelt like the Fruit Loops fruit, F-R-O-O-T. They're the best cheap edibles on the planet. If you like more premium stuff, Kiva, I think, is still the best in the game of expensive edibles. They make the best chocolate, best gummies really out there. Those are two quick ones off the top of my head. Let me know if you need something more specific. GH says, I love it when a new spot opens and offers deals. Yes, and thankfully, as weed businesses seem to be not very stable, much like Bitcoin, quite volatile, they change hands often, and you will often find a dispensary goes through a couple owners in a year, and for whatever reason, it is just you. If you're going to own a or run a dispensary, you're gonna offer people a discount to come in the first time. How that has become a ingrained part of weed culture, I don't know. Why it doesn't exist in any other industry other than online subscriptions, I don't quite understand, but it's fascinating. Let's get through some more of this bag here. Carl says weed taxes are too high in California. Yes, Carl, I think that is pretty clearly true. And this is coming from somebody who happy to pay their taxes, even their weed taxes. They are too high, if only not actually as a measure of the cost of weed and the burden and it puts on consumers. And that may be true. I mean, I think there's absolutely an argument for that. But outside of that, it's just bad for the state and its tax revenues. They are pricing themselves out of the market, basically. They are leaving a huge chunk of potential market on the table by making taxes so high that people who would have had no problem buying things from a legal dispensary will end up spending, they'll just, it's so easy to find people who will sell you weed from a non-legal source at a substantial discount that many people are going to elect to do that. It's the same lesson from piracy, right? Like, piracy went way down when Netflix was the only subscription you had to have, and now piracy is bigger than it ever was because everything has splintered. The same thing is kind of true with like taxes. It's the more the government, puts the burden, an extra, basically in California, depending on your municipality, at least 40% tax on your purchase. Like it means that a big chunk of people are going to find savings in other ways. And especially when, and I think it's great. I do not endorse the alternative at all, but like the state is, they're not really pushing too hard against people purchasing or selling in gray markets or black markets in cannabis for a lot of reasons. So there aren't a whole lot of barriers to people going that way either. So yes, taxes are too high, which is why California still has a huge problem with black market. It's one of those things where there's probably a perfect number that they could arrive at where a tax dollar to, or percentage of tax, I assume if they taxed weed lower, their revenues would go way up, and that there might even be a number where if their taxes went down far enough, their revenues would grow so much as to cover that difference anyways. I don't know. Might be worth finding out. I'll never be in charge of finding out though. So, wow. Great observation. And I'm sorry for the long answer. Blade says you can get a med card to avoid taxes here. It's super easy. You can get a med card to avoid a small percentage of some taxes. It actually doesn't shield you from a lot. And again, I think taxes are great. I am supportive of taxes, and I don't even know if that number is too high, like ethically. Like, I don't think there's anything really wrong with taxing. As well, if you do need it medicinally, which I am, that is not me. If you do need it medicinally, it should not be taxed as if it is it shouldn't be given any sin taxes. But if it is just a recreational substance to use, I don't think that there's anything necessarily inherently wrong with taxing things like that at a higher rate than normal sales taxes. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with taxing tobacco or alcohol at a higher rate than normal sales tax. I'm not saying weed is equivalent to those. Absolutely. Weed is obviously better than those, but it is taxed higher than them. So I'm not averse to all taxes on weed. I just think that they are leaving money on the table by putting taxes so high, and also encouraging a robust black and gray market, which has a lot of externalities. So like, that is in and of itself a problem. There's more wrong with having thriving black and gray markets than just the lost tax revenue. There are like other second and third order things that can come from having people who have their entire livelihoods come from off the books kind of living. There are, other ways that funnels you into more criminal enterprises largely. So that's a bad thing. Like, California should strive to not have such a huge black and gray market, even if not for the just, well, we're missing out on this tax revenue. There are other things that can come from having a huge market that is uncontrolled by, or even noticed by the state running around, especially when it's weed or other drugs. That was a long, rambling answer, and I'm sorry. I'm going to finally finish this bag, and then I'm going to go do ourselves another dab as we're getting a little late here. And we'll dedicate this dab to the best comment I see along the way. Thomas asks, are you a fan of Dragon Ball Z / Super? I, of course, watched Dragon Ball Z in middle school. I was there for the Frieza saga, but have not kept up with it. I love the Dragon Ball fighting game that came out like last gen. I think that game was awesome, and it was like, even for people who are bad at traditional fighting games like I am, you could feel like a badass without a whole lot of practice, and it looked incredible. And who doesn't love Goku? I do know it just broke whatever box office record, and heard it's a good one, but I haven't seen a Dragon Ball since, maybe 8th grade. Is this one worthy of going to? I am not a Dragon Ball hater at all. I would, would it be comprehensible to somebody who the last thing they remember was, shit. What was the guy after Frieza? Brawly? Cell. I think Cell. That's like the last basically thing I know. And it's been a long time. Could I still enjoy it? And what did you think? If you did see it, Thomas. Curious. Tony asks, have I heard about that new DualSense Edge? And yes, I have, Tony. It looks quite nice. That DualSense Edge is Sony's answer to the Xbox Elite controller. And it looks real nice. It looks like what you would hope for. I think I'm in the market. I'm going to give a huge rant about Microsoft, and then we'll do this dab. GH, great question. Tony also has an amazing comment. Man, I'm just going to have to dedicate this dab to both of them, and then we'll go over both of those, as well as talking about the Xbox Elite. Microsoft, your controllers, your accessories suck ass. They're terrible. You should be ashamed of yourselves. I don't understand it. I don't understand why it's not a bigger deal. I've had my original Joy-Cons, no drift. I've never had a single broken PlayStation controller from 1 to 5 ever. Never any stuck buttons, never any... minor sort of backup there. I don't ever go back to them. I can't tell you if my PlayStation 2 or whatever is still working, but they lasted the entire lifespan and then some. My PlayStation 3's controllers, the batteries were dead by the time the PS3 was over. So that was a thing, and they weren't replaceable. But Microsoft's accessories are appalling, dude. I've had to buy multiple controllers every single generation. You'll almost always, it's the buttons will stick, and there's no cleaning solution, no alcohol will fix it. And then the second most thing is stick drift, awful stick drift. And again, I've had Joy-Cons from the very beginning, 2017, the most legendary borked piece of hardware. Mine still works great, but Microsoft's shit is awful. I've had two Xbox. I've had both Elite controllers. My Elite controller 2 just 100% will no longer work. One of the sticks just will not respond at all. And I still have my mostly working Elite 1, but has bad stick drift in the left stick. So I don't really use it for anything other than like games where you're not constantly having to move or whatever. But Microsoft, your accessories really suck, man. I don't. They're terrible. So I'm probably in the market for that Elite or DualSense, whatever it's called, from Sony. Great question. All right, let's get this dab going that I keep promising. Right, we're going to do this dab real quick for GH and Tony. GH, again, asks, do you think there may be a quality or overall product difference in some lines between states? For example, is Steezy possibly different in Michigan as in California? Great question, real quick. And to answer, on some kind of molecular level, the answer would be, of course, absolutely. There would be. I mean, you're going to find differences, genetic differences, even higher up than the molecular level, between strains on two farms in the same block, let alone, two places, two strains from across state lines. So yeah, there would be some differences. However, I do not think there would be any chance anybody could tell. The, I guess, caveat to that would be something like live resin or rosin, where it's like strain. They use the whole strain, and the extraction process is very different. But if it's just standard distillate, there's just no way. I mean, distillate is it's less, as much as a dispensary doesn't want you to think of it this way. Distillate is it's best to think of it more as a commodity product than a specialized product. Think of it more like an orange than a craft beer almost. It's basically, I mean, they are trying to distill essentially THC, and then once they do that, oftentimes whatever they add will come, are cannabis-derived terpenes added in later. But distillate is distillate, and while there will be people, I'm sure, who would disagree with me vehemently, I would love to see them do a blind test to actually see if they could tell. But live rosin, that's a different story. But again, if it's just distillate, it shouldn't really matter, to be honest, at all. Uh, Carpe. Whoops. Oh, no. And then I promised to, Tony had an excellent observation slash question, which is imagine a world without anesthesia. Man, I think I'd rather not. It doesn't sound like a pleasant world to be in. You don't have to imagine that far back, though. I mean, I guess it really depends on what we determine as anesthesia. Like, if booze is, I mean, I guess anesthesia is in the eye of the beholder. Maybe I'm also just misreading the word, but I think that's anesthesia. Uh, I think you probably mean like modern anesthesia, some kind of, either medicine to knock you out or to numb you locally to prevent pain. It's a one of the modern wonders of humanity that we have anesthesia. I mean, how much Civil War literature is devoted to talking about how awful amputating limbs was? How many pages of Civil War era literature are devoted to talking about having people bite down on something to prevent them from screaming or to hold them until they passed out from the pain? Like, that is a world nobody wants to live in, man. Ooh, but modern anesthesia, in some ways, also kind of responsible for the heroin slash opiate slash fentanyl epidemic in a roundabout way. Um, I don't know if this will give too much personal detail away about my personal life, but I'll tell this fun story anyways. Where I grew up, the neighborhood my next door neighbor was an anesthesiologist in the small town I lived in, and odd guy. He had a very nice family, but strange dude. Um, uh, didn't think much of him. Moved from that house when I was in high school. Didn't think about them for years and years and years. When I was in college, however, I got my very first jury summons for jury duty. And when I go to jury duty, it's learn a little bit about the case before they start like selecting. They told us so much shit before they like ask the obvious, like, hey, any reason you can't be here? Anyways, jury duty starts, or they start explaining it's a medical malpractice case, and somebody is suing an anesthesiologist who was being accused of killing a patient or leading to the death of a patient. And that person was my old neighbor. Then, after many hours, the judge finally says, is there anybody has any reason or any conflict, any knowledge of these people up here? And I finally got to stand up and say, the defendant is my former neighbor. The judge says, oh, okay. Is there any reason why that would affect your ability to judge this case fairly? And I said, I guess not. I mean, what's the answer to that question? The answer, truthfully, 100% has to be no. Doesn't matter who you are. There's just no way it can't. Truthfully, the only truthful answer is no, but I guess not was me. And then he goes, okay. And then I was dismissed by a lawyer like 3 hours later, randomly anyways. So what a waste of a day. I'm not sure if my neighbor won or lost his case. That is my story of anesthesiology. You had a much shorter question. Okay. I think we are, unfortunately, out of weed. Well, I guess I could do one more small dab. Maybe if I have the time. Let's see where we are on I think I'm getting caught up. Uh, Sean asks, sorry I missed your goodbye, Brittany. It's fun hanging out with you as well. Uh, GH says volcanoes are quality. Totally agree. Tony says that he got so high on volcanoes, now the flow is so lava. I think I understand. Not on you, on me. Sean asks, what's the biggest dab you've ever done? Nothing outrageous. I don't understand the people who do the comically large things. It just seems wasteful to me. But if I had to guess, Sean, probably an eighth of a gram. Yeah, probably that would be the biggest. But that's just a guess. How about yourself, Sean? Have you done anything super massive for the viewers? I know the kids love the big 1 gram dabs, or the people just drop a whole sheet in. Oh, lungs burn just thinking about it. Carpe says, Wheats, do you notice that edibles that are syrup hit less hard than something like a cookie? Carpe buy it, I absolutely do. Tinctures, syrups, mostly almost all beverages, liquids. There are a few noticeable exceptions that I can think of. Do not seem to hit as hard as things that are baked with fat. It also seems to be true for gummies relative to, say, a brownie or a cookie. Again, something with a lot of fat built in. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it is entirely psychological. If you eat it with fats, it should, an equivalent amount of THC should work. I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. It's largely probably because we just don't understand how we metabolize THC as well as we think we do yet, that those things seem to be true. There's probably some veracity to it, other than just a psychological thing. And I 100% agree with you, Carpe, with some noticeable exceptions. Welcome, Eric. Oh my God, I saw your comment a while ago and I missed it. Hitman Radio, welcome. Glad to have you. Lori Elizabeth, welcome back. She says, hey, Wheats, just gotta sort some fluffy, sweet, and spicy bunch of buds. So good. Wish I knew what kind it is. I hope you find out. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us again. Carl says he likes the Wii. Classic console. Has there ever been a fall from grace more than the Wii to the Wii U? Who knows? I'm sure. Eric says, Eric is giving out some excellent advice about fats and the bioavailability of THC, which I went over way less eloquently than him. As to why, I guess, well, we just speculated. Eric has a better answer than I do anyways. Thank you, Eric. Carpe says, Steezy is less potent in Arizona than in California. Of California growers, while Arizona is just licensing with random growers. I didn't know that as well. Thank you, Carpe. Which makes sense that Steezy's probably, because weed businesses actually, I think, they literally cannot do business in other states. That would be interstate commerce, which you can't do right now. So I don't know what weird mechanisms companies do to have brands in multiple states. I'm sure it's like a bunch of shell companies and games, and it's like, why do we even have these laws if nobody actually follows them, or if you have the money, you can just sort of bypass them, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm not sure, what Steezy is operating and how fluid these laws are, and how at this point, how easy it is to bypass them. But yeah, technically, a wheat company is supposed to be in that state because federally illegal, and that would be interstate commerce. That's why banking is so hard for wheat still. Uh, Once things cross state lines, things get real weird. Why we have I just read this morning, and please God don't let it be untrue. It feels like something that could be. I think I saw it from a reputable source, and I hope it just didn't somehow filter from some garbage place, but that um, Biden has so far, uh, under the Biden administration, there have been more federal pot arrests than under Trump at this point in their presidencies, which seems just ludicrous, but also just stupid enough to be true. Um, but who knows? I just don't understand why we don't change these obvious things. Anyways, Hitman Radio gives a suggestion for some of the recommendations from Joey Diaz. I appreciate that as well. GH has an excellent aphorism that whiskey is whiskey unless it's bourbon, which is true, but only in the weirdest distinction that bourbon is like whiskey that's been aged in barrels that had wine in them before or something. There are so many odd distinctions in fine alcohol, like the difference between brandy and whiskey and bourbon. They all have to do with like the barrels and the aging process because it's all just the same ethanol. And it gets its flavors from where it leaches out. But yes, whiskey is whiskey unless it's bourbon. Sorry, whiskey fans. Hitman asks, is hash any good? He's never tried it, but would like to smoke some one day. Hitman, I've only ever done hash like 2 or 3 times. I don't understand why it makes sense as why it came about as a product to begin with, but it seems to almost exist as a nostalgia product. It's difficult to deal with. It's hard to actually use. I didn't find any particular joy in hash over any other method, but people may have some other suggestions, which I would love to hear. Okay, I gotta get this last dab going that I keep promising. Carpe's got some great comments about hash just beneath it. GH, thanks for hanging out with you. Gonzo, welcome. Thanks for being here, Gonzo. Good to see you again. T. Welcome, T. That's a very nice name you have there. Nice and easy to remember. You were the name of the quarterback that led my alma mater to the state championship or the national championship, the UT Vols in 1998. And I wish I didn't know that, but if you live in East Tennessee, you know that the Tennessee Vols won the national championship led by T. Martin in 1998. And T, if that's you, welcome. And T, if that's you, I'm also sorry that you've got nothing. We should have better things to do. Not that hanging out here isn't a wonderful thing to do, but we know that you're not Team. Okay. Now we've talked about tea, iced, and Martin's. Let's do this dab that I keep promising about. We're gonna get this for, of course, Gonzo Baptist P. Ibans. Welcome, Ibans. Ibans says going to San Diego this weekend. Well, Ibans, are you not from the state of California, or how far away are you coming from? I'm unfortunately not too familiar with San Diego and their dispensary layout, which ones are great, but uh, no, T. I'm sorry, I was just being an asshole. I'm glad you're here nonetheless. um, but I hope maybe somebody in chat can give you a recommendation. IBANs. If not, Weed Maps. I don't love Weed Maps, obviously. Maybe check out San Diego's Reddit. Like Google dispensaries San Diego Reddit, and that's probably not a bad way to go too. From Dallas. Well, welcome from Dallas, man. I hope you have a wonderful time in San Diego. It's probably going to be a perfect weekend to be there, and I hope you find tons and tons of dispensaries with 40% off first time customer deals that rain from trees, in addition to the zoo and SeaWorld and all the other cool stuff. Tony, thank you for the recommendation. Thank you, Tony. All right, well, let's get this very final dab going that I've been promising. And then wrap up. All right, last dab. Thank you, everybody who I mentioned before. You've got until the time I get back, I guess, to my keyboard, plus a minute or two while I'm wrapping up. If you've got any cool questions to ask, perfect time. Otherwise, we'll wrap up real soon. Here we go. All right, guys. Well, that is then going to do it for me. It has been wonderful hanging out with everybody. I will definitely be back tomorrow after the premiere, 1:15 Pacific time. Hope to see you guys then. Yes, it is. It's